Hello and welcome to Democracy in Action. You are on to Third Eye Africa TV. Now let's do a demo. Via the bullet, he became a Democrat. Via the ballot paper, he became a president. I'm talking of the late general, a Democrat, Muhammadu Buhari, who has just died, who has just been laid to rest. May he rest in peace. However, we still have to discuss that general, that president, that Democrat in Nigeria. My name is Ben Shaman, your host on the program, and we have a guest who is a lawyer, a human rights activist. Let me call him a die-hard believer in Muhammadu Buhari. At the point, he also felt like, should I still continue with Buhari? We'll get to hear from him as we present to you Democracy in Action. My name is Ben Shaman, and again, welcome to Third Eye Africa TV. Let us welcome Barrister Ahmed Abubakar Tanimu to Third Eye Africa TV.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a delight to be on your program.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good. Let's look at the man, Buhari. First, the man in uniform. How was it like? What memories do you have of him? What was it you read about him?
Thank you very much. I'll start by expressing my sincere, heartfelt felicitation and condolence to the family of the late general. We pray that God should forgive him his mistakes, and when our time comes to, God should equally forgive us. So we are mourning the late general. We express our grief, our sympathy, our empathy to the family. Having said that, as a national figure, the mistake a lot of people make, they think we should restrict his personality, especially with the event of a sudden death. Is given, all of us will all die. And if you have occupied any position of responsibility, you are no longer living a private life. You are now part of, if you are talking about Nigeria, there is no way his name will not come up. So for those that are kind of dogmatic in terms of their religious belief, I'm not one of them. So I wish to express my feelings very, very sincerely and honestly. Having laid this foundation, we want to start from his military era. I was a child, barely 3 years when he came to power, but as a very good student of history, I read a lot about him. In fact, to the extent that if not that he became a Democrat and ruled for 60 years, we've had 8 years. We've had so many stories. My dad in particular is a diehard Buharis. My uncles, a lot of them, they told us so many stories that if not for some disgruntled elements in the military that overthrew him, that Nigeria would have been a Dubai by now. Nigeria would have been a sort of a Mecca, would be the most advanced black nation on earth. They told us so many things, how there was a war on indiscipline and corruption. There are a lot of things that all measures were being put in place for a radical turnaround. And you see, anytime we have issues, and then immediately after, we tend to make comparison. They told us how the dinar was more valuable than the dollar, and we believed then that everything would have been better. So it is that same expectation when he now indicated interest, or when Nigeria at a point in time we felt the democratic elected government of Obasanjo was not doing that El Dorado that we anticipated that democracy would give. We now believe that if he had done it under the military era, there's nothing stopping him from achieving that goal as a Democrat, because what you need is that we have other climb. In Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew did it. We have other democratic government that were able to transform their country through purposeful leadership. So on that belief, we've been campaigning from him right from these days that when he joined the ANPP. We were all there. We traveled far and wide. We campaigned. We mobilized youth. I'm laying this foundation to tell you the extent, not only myself, a lot of Nigerians, the elderly, young children that were not even born when he was in power, but because of the laudable stories. We were told how frugal he was, how honest he was, the love he has for the masses. But there was the other side of the story, even though they were suppressed. I'm the kind of person that interfaces with elderly people. Some of the narrative they were painting, they said, no, we did not get, it is not as what you are thinking. That's really not what happened. They were giving us a side of the story, and there was no way we could corroborate some of them. For example, there was an elderly man, he told me that he lost some of his monies when Buhari came in. So in my mind then, I was thinking, maybe this elderly man was corrupt and he couldn't explain to me. He said he had money, there was sudden change of, is it Naira, you know, with the color or something like regarding Naira, and he couldn't, I asked him, if there is a change, why didn't you go to the bank unless you have something to hide? At the point in time, he couldn't explain further. He just said, since you believe this much about your hero, Jikima, in Hausa I say Jikima Gai, that you will see by your own self. We pray for you that he gets to that position. Well, for me, we still have the belief that anybody that talks anything negative against the late general, then we felt either the person is corrupt or he doesn't want the country to move forward. So it's that zeal, religiously, fanatically, that we followed him. We gave him all the support. I'm transiting now to the democratic dispensation. We've always been there. We've always guided our votes. We've always given him all the support. We contributed resources. We went around mobilizing people so that he can come into.
Yes, that is diving into the democratic nature of the late president. But still talking military, you agree that at the point the fight against hard drugs was real when Buhari was there. The fight against corruption was real when he was military head of state. Remember what they call war against indiscipline. Anywhere you went to, even if you were alone, you begin to queue, believing that one other person is coming. The moment the person comes, any queue around, that kind of a thing. So Buhari's aptitude that time influenced, the Nigerian conduct that time. So what do you say about that?
Absolutely, we believed that 100%, and a lot of stories, and that's why I laid the foundation. That at the point in time, we became fanatical because of these laudable stories, getting it directly from your parents, from your uncles, from people in your vicinity. They tell you, yes, during our time, I gave you an instance of some people losing money, and I tried to go deep then. And then I did not even understand my understanding of the financial, the way financial transaction goes on was quite low. I couldn't understand. I couldn't fathom some of the explanations they were giving. I have relatives too. They were in power then. A local government chairman in Kaduna North. He was telling me how he was in prison. He was detained. I said, what was your offense? All my mindset was that some of these people are eternally corrupt, and that is why they were arrested, that is why they were detained, and because of the level and volume of corruption, we still need him to come not under the military toga this time around, under a civilian regime, but you have the same capacity. If you have done it before, you can still replicate what you have done. We had all those laudable stories, and that is why we cherished him. We heard about the war against indiscipline. We heard about the vicious war against hard drugs. And I read it too in the newspaper where some of the laws, as a lawyer now, you see the rule of natural justice. You cannot make law today and have let it have retroactive effect, which they did. But we believe that they did it in good conscience so that they are there. But you see, you look at it in a way, it's kind of harsh, but if you need to do anything to achieve certain results, some excuses will be given. If you make a mistake and you did it with good intention, though when we look at it now as a lawyer now, after setting and now look at it in a holistic way, I felt it was too harsh, but it was needed. We can all see the menace of drug abuse, what it's doing to the society. For him to have done anything, for him to have gone to the extent of using crane to kidnap late Umaru Dikko from abroad, just to send the signal that he means business about fighting corruption. We all cherish him. We continue to cherish that memory. We believe that drastic situation will only be resolved through drastic measures. Yeah. And that's why we give him credit. We give the late General Tunde Idiagbon and all those around him then, because they stood at all levels to ensure that they reduce the prevalence of corruption to a barest minimum, in spite of the hardship that was associated, in spite of some policies that were not followed through, that were not implemented with human face, but the objective then was achieved. Nigeria now had a new sense of urgency that the problem they have at hand, which you could attest to, needed a very drastic approach, and those drastic approach started yielding possible results before it was thrown out.
Now, you also see that that time too, Shagari, when he was removed from power, Alex Ukweme, Abubakar Rimi, many of them like that, they all were thrown into the detention without trial, without anything, and in the end, a kind of... When I interviewed Shagari before he died, said he was incarcerated. In the end, they didn't take him to any court. They didn't charge him for stealing or anything. But Nigeria is just moving ahead, and the press just painted him bad because of what the government did that time. So, I mean...
I read a lot about Shagari too, and you see, you will be held responsible for the inaction and actions of your subordinate. Shagari as a person is an upright man, a very transparent person, but certain individuals...
Just like Buhari is said to be transparent.
Certain individuals under him, they must have been found wanting in one way or the other, but not at the scale that we are witnessing today. They made mistakes. Some were not honest mistakes. Some were for financial gain. But you as the person in charge, you that have the responsibility of ensuring that there's transparency in your electioneering process, in ensuring there is peace and tranquility, in ensuring that there's a zero level of corruption, and you fail to actualize those objectives of these are state objectives. So if you are found, if those subordinates under you are found wanted, then you will be culpable. We all know that a military regime is not a democratic setting. The ideal thing was, having been arrested, they should have been taken to court. They should have been, even not court, even the tribunal, they should have been given the opportunity to defend themselves. And if they have failed after months and years in incarceration, a public apology should have been tendered to them, even when they are outside office, even when those that did those acts were removed themselves. That's the Buhari regime. They owe the late Shagari and his other actors then apology, since they were not able to convict them. In law, you are presumed to be innocent. If we want to use the accusatorial approach, which we believe that the ministry should have used, they should have said, okay, come and explain the source of your sudden wealth. They didn't do all that. So it means the pain, we empathize with the late head of state, Shagari, for what he went through. And it's part of the other side of the other stories that I told you about. Elders then, they told us that the military regime then appears to be vicious, to be vindictive, to see anybody as corrupt, holier than thou, and they couldn't establish such claim. We thought, I believe then, that is why you see the vigor, the level they went in getting Umaru Dikko back, and they couldn't succeed. But for those that were not found wanting, apology would have been something to ease their pain.
You see, in this program, you've mentioned Umaru Dikko at least 2 times. Now, let me bring paint a picture for you to still comment about Umaru Dikko. When Mariam Abacha was launching her PET program, was it a family support program, SFP? Or
FSP, a family support program.
Then, at the International Conference Center here in Abuja, sure. On the day of our launch, Umaru Diko was seated first row. Then Buhari came in a bit late. As he was shaking hands from one guest to another, on reaching Umaru Diko, his countenance changed. Umaru Diko's countenance changed. And as Buhari gave his hand for a handshake, Umaru Diko just did like this. A cameraman of News Agency of Nigeria, Henry Chukwu Edo, got that celebrated photograph, So what must have been going through the mind of Umaru Diko, seeing Buhari, who tried to put him in a crate to come try him in Nigeria, and he survived. Here you are giving a hand of friendship.
As I said, for me, I would have acted in the similar manner, the way Umaru Diko acted, because what would the expectation is, if you know you've not been able to establish their guilt, it's not only getting him in crate and bringing him down to Nigeria that you would have established. You can try someone in absentia. What you need to do is to have a tribunal of inquiry, a regular court, give the person notice that you are to be tried. If you fail to come, it's in our laws, you'll be tried in absentia. And if you are tried in absentia, then they can now send to the host country that is keeping you, that you are exiled to, that you have been found wanting based on this evidence. So we are seeking for an extradition. We want you back by all means.
But you lawyers talking of a certain Latin maxim, locus inco.
No, they had the government.
The sin of a crime.
No, you see, in this case, the locus inco can be not only restricted to Nigeria. If you steal money from Nigeria, for example, and you take it abroad, they have jurisdiction, we have jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction is to establish that certain monies meant for shipment and supply of rice have been diverted to US, to Britain. When we establish the guilt, and it's very simple, there are invoices, there are contracts, there are payment voucher. We have been paid $1 million naira to bring in tons of rice. There is no rice anywhere, there's no shipment, there's no confirmation. Then the owners now will now move on to you. So what happened then is expected, but we felt it's not about shaking hands. There are people that needed to be apologized to, or there are people that you can still bring back that same issue if you strongly believe. Anybody in power have certain information that me and you will not have. Regardless, in crime, there is no limitation law that say that a crime committed in 1983 cannot be reopened in 2025. So we felt, if he felt very strongly, he should have reopened that matter and every other matter. But if he had failed to, he should have apologized. An apology will suit some nerve.
So, Buhari the Democrat,
Sure.
One time, second time, third time, without winning. Fourth time, he won. What will you say about his doggedness when it comes to fighting to occupy that seat, the president?
For us, then, we believe that we had no option. We had the death of credible, incorruptible candidates, or candidates that are perceived to be incorruptible, candidates that are perceived to have the tenacity and the capacity to fight corruption head on. For us, it was not about him, it's about the survival, as at that time, of Nigeria. We had no option because we still have that belief based on what our parents, our elders told us, that if he had enough time, he would have transformed the country. He would have created equal opportunity for the children of the rich and the poor. We saw a semblance of that in late Yar'Adua. When he came in, a lot of poor people were able to get employment. A lot of people were able. We now believe that if Yar'Adua that came in through a system that is flawed, he admitted that the system is flawed, and he started taking some radical steps towards changing the narrative. We believe that an incorruptible Buhari will turn Nigeria into an El Dorado. So it's not about him in person. Then we felt it is about Nigerians, patriotic Nigerians, that we have looked all through. We have not been able to really pencil down people that have his pedigree, that we're able to now take Nigeria out of the doldrum. Then we believe that we are already in a sinking ship, and we just need that media touch of Buhari to change everything. So it's not about him alone. The question is about everybody wanting a productive change. So even if it has stopped, in fact, one lesson that a relative of mine passed a comment that he believed that now our eyes are clear, that if he had not succeeded in the number of attempts that he aspired to become president, by now they will have his tomb will be like a place where people go and worship. I'm telling you, he said that he will be like a martyr, that this is the only opportunity we had of changing Nigeria and we failed. So if you have that kind of perception coming from elderly people, from young children, from babies that don't even know how democracy and the polity, how it works, but you just have belief that once you mention that name, a lot of people don't know. It's not about religion, it's about the person. People are ready to give out their lives. People believe that anything they are doing, that if we are not alive to witness the transformation in Nigeria, or the day of judgment, when you ask what did you do to uplift the betterment of your community, your country, you said, yes, I sacrificed my life, I sacrificed my resources, not because of tribe, not because of religion, but because we believe that if you pay all, if you pay all Nigerians, he is the only person. We have identified, we've all agreed that corruption is our major bane to all developmental strife. So if you can take out corruption, then the country will just transform automatically in a very terrific manner that you just need a year of non-corruption. I want to share a personal story with you. When I have a client in my presence, the moment he won the election, he was calling his brother in the Ministry of Agriculture. I will never forget that incident. He was telling him, all the money you have stolen, we've been discussing because he was a politician, they are part of those that fund Buhari's campaign. He was telling his own brother that all those monies that I'm aware you have stolen, start making arrangements to return it back, that they are going to draw a line, they are drawing a line, that those are able to return such monies will not be prosecuted. And that really got to me. I went to a honorable member, then I was in the bank, one of these big banks, I'm their legal officer, and we tried to avail a facility to some honorable members. Do you know that if honorable members are elected, immediately all the banks, they'll be rushing after, be giving them offer letters of 100 million and above loans based on their. But we gave, I'm telling you this, we gave a honorable member some document who happens to be a friend, a classmate of mine, representing Igabi. He now told me that no, Paris, I don't want to get into Buhari's trouble. That you think I will take loan, where will I pay? Don't you know that this is a government that is coming to change everything? But however, please tell your people to keep this offer 6 months later. Let me see how things go, that will be able to. You believe that after about a month, he came back, that bring the loan, that he's ready to take. And I was still curious. I said, what has changed? Suddenly he said, no, that what we have is not what we had or what we had about, that things are not going to be as rosy as we are thinking.
Now, let me try to either paraphrase or quote Buhari. I was in the State House when the first batch of his ministers when he saw them in. And he said, to the ministers, you will be judged individually according to how many masses you've removed from poverty. End of quote. Did he do that?
No, that was his greatest undoing.
How? Why?
Yes, he appointed people. With the delay, there was a delay of about 6 months. Yeah. We all believed that it was for good reasons. The permanent secretary, they are there to marshal out concrete road steps, action plans, standard operating procedures. So he needed those 6 months. And nobody complained. But we started complaining the moment the same old politicians that we all know, we've all heard about, we know what they've done, some of them as past governors, what they did in their various states, some of them, we know their pedigree, they don't really represent that change. And it's not enough to appoint people. They are accountable to you. The same way he punished Shagari for the action and inaction of his political appointees. what is good for the Uganda is good for him as well. So you cannot abdicate him of responsibility of those people he appointed. A practical note, keeping Emefiele for 8 good years, how many Nigerians has Emefiele taken out of poverty? You should rather be asking how many Nigerians has he forcefully put into poverty with the quantum of what he's been accused that he has dipped his hand into. And you kept him for good 8 years. Something is not adding up.
And there was this
cry
pretending over turnaround maintenance of the refineries.
We don't even want to go into that. In fact, a lot of we pretend that it never happened, because what was the key thing that was our major challenge then? Insecurity. And if you say you want to bring transformation, we thought then he would assume the role of the Minister of Defense, if it is that important to your administration. Rather, he went for the juicy role of the Minister of Petroleum. And what was the performance? Abysmal failure. All the turnaround. Do you know how many, for those of us from Kaduna, we all know what happens. The refinery has not been working. It has always remained the way it is. And billions of naira, they were paying billions of naira as salaries, and nobody is held accountable. They're not producing a single output continuously for years. My neighbors were all refinery workers. They paid them one of the most exorbitant salary for doing nothing. When I mean nothing, I mean practically nothing. And it continued. Ministry of Petroleum Resources, then if you are holding those other ministers accountable, you as a Minister of Petroleum Resources, did you hold yourself accountable? Because definitely all the turnaround maintenance happens to be a sham, be an avenue for funds to just go down the drain, and nobody was held accountable till this moment. NNPC was something else.
And the fight against corruption was the crux of his matter. And he said, if we don't fight corruption, corruption will kill Nigeria, corruption will kill us. And at the point, some people say among the cabinet members, the more you fight corruption, corruption fights back. Let's situate this.
To situate it is very, very easy, because then I was in active practice, and I can tell you for free. We wrote series, I'm telling you on national TV, we wrote series of petition to the EFCC. It was just a sham. They select, if you have an institution that is supposed to fight corruption and is being selective, I'm telling you as a lawyer, let's say I'm speaking from the bar now with all my oath or whatever, we've written series of petitions against named individuals. We provided all the information required, and nobody, they just looked the other way. And I felt maybe I'm not doing something right. And I have clients, so many people that wrote so many petitions, the same story. It's always been like that. It became more or less like you are just taking, the way they call it in quotes, you are taking food to the people that are supposed to be investigating corruption. So the fight against corruption from day one, where you see the officers involved, you see the output, you've seen the level of interference. You see, anything you want to do, you must look at the ambit of law. How are you able to situate it? If you have an attorney general, a minister of justice that is always interfering in the activities of those entities that are supposed to be fighting corruption, and you as the president cannot call him to order and say, no, you don't need to do this, because it will send a different signal.
But was that why some people say EFCC, ICPC, and some other anti-corruption agencies were like the hunter's dog?
They are, and
send them to the enemy.
They've always been. When you lack that independence, and you see you lack independence if, for example, you are given so much powers and nobody is now supervising, like as we have it today now, nobody is supervising what the EFCC, what they do. They are not accountable to anybody.
I thought the National Assembly should oversight them.
No, you see, it's quite difficult when you have the National Assembly has always been a den of a lot of politicians that we all know, we can perceive and we can say safely. Some of them have a lot of questionable characters. They have so many of them have allegations hanging on their head. So you cannot expect such kind of body to now be the one overseeing what we are expected. You can have an independent. You can even reduce it to the presidency directly, because you want them to have that independence of actually carrying out their fight. You now say that, okay, nobody Nobody, regardless of his status, regardless of his position, is above what you are doing. The Attorney General of the Federation, as a president, one curious thing that most people don't know, the level of information that you have surpasses that of any other person. You don't need to be a lawyer. You have a legal advisor. The function of the legal advisor is that anything the minister or anything that has to do with law, any presentation made, you don't need to be a lawyer. You already have a legal advisor that will counsel you that no, what your Attorney General is saying is not true. You can have a committee of experts. You can have all the senior advocates. They will give you the legal implication of what your Attorney General is doing. But under Buhari, we saw a different thing. Things were not the way that as expected. The question that you asked, apart from arbitrary arrest, is not enough to allow for a commission of a crime to occur and you start going after it. That is being reactive. What we expected that the government then ought to be proactive. Proactive is that you identified where there are income leakages, where there are wastages, where there are fertile ground, where you know people want to dip their hands into public resources. Then you take preemptive, you are preempting them. Then you take preventive measures as well. You will not even allow it. And if it's about to happen, you've already taken measures that it will be detected at the earliest point. Then you have remedial measures. Not that you allow corruption, then you now claim to be fighting it by arresting. The recovery will now be relooted. We have instances whereby recovered fund, recovered assets, we are looted with ease, and nobody is giving account. So the whole corruption, war against corruption that we heard about, we saw a completely different picture. The picture we witnessed, we now discovered that corruption was now only for the enemies of the government. And anytime you come back to be friendly with the government, all your sins will be forgiven.
Okay, now let us look at an aspect where he virtually tended to be pro-masses, the grassroots, especially local government affairs. He realized that the money was going to some joint accounts with governors, and for that reason, Buhari himself went to the Supreme Court of first instance. All the governors, surprisingly, whether they are Labour, APC, PDP, all APGA, they joined hands to say, no, President, you are wrong in this matter. And surprisingly, the Supreme Court gave judgment in favor of the governors. So why was Buhari trashed that way?
You see the truth of the whole matter. I painted a scenario of somebody, just the mere mention of Buhari's victory that he has won, was willing to return money. And I tried to ask that same client that, did your brother eventually return those money? And he just laughed at what kind of question am I asking? So you see, it's about your body language from day one. If people notice but the honorable I was telling you collected the loans, and all his counterpart equally, after about barely 6 months, they all came back, collected even more than the amount that they were given, because they know that they are going to use their constituency project to finance banking loan. This is what obtains in all the banks, even at the moment, and nobody is saying anything.
Are you sure there are not allegations?
They are not allegations. Because I'm involved, and I know that as a matter of fact, all the estates you are seeing, most of the honorables, the moment they came to Abuja, as high as 100 million. These are records that can be obtained from the central bank. Just bring your loan facilities, and you see all the names of the honorables, the senators that were giving. I'm telling you this as a matter of fact. Nothing has happened and nothing will ever happen about that, because where are they getting the money from? It's the same money that they are supposed to use for their constituency projects, their so-called salary. I've always known the salaries of the honorable men, but when you say salary now, the money is the inflow into the account, because you provide your account statement. Some were forced to domicile there, so we know about it, not until when Shehu Sani was making it public, we already know. So the truth of the matter is that what they were doing then is being selective, being reactionary. It's as if they want to create the impression, oh, we are fighting war against corruption, we are recovering this amount. And if you look at it, I want to restrict it to the issue of having flair for the masses and the rest. Anything you need to do it right, you need to do it on time. You cannot wait towards the tail end. What we also is tokenism. where you'll be given a bag of rice, you'll be given a car. We don't need that.
Let me pause you here. We'll go on a break of just some seconds, a minute or so, and come back. But when you come back, still go back to this issue of
the local government.
The local government funds. Why was it that the governors were able to defeat the president? The Supreme Court aligned with the governors. What went wrong or what went right? So, of course, the program is Democracy in Action, and we are on to Third Eye Africa TV. My name is Ben Sherman. Our guest is a barrister, a human rights activist, a die-hard activist of former President Muhammadu Buhari, and today he's questioning some of his activities. I'm talking of Barrister Ahmed Abubakar Tanimu.
Thank you.
We'll come to that.
We're talking about South and the North. You talk about Middle Belt. Currently in Nigeria, we don't have Middle Belt. North Central is what we have. And they are included in the North. If the perception is because Nigeria is standing on a tripod, you have Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, they are the owners of Nigeria. That is a very wrong perception. These are major tribes in Nigeria. Simple.
Yeah.
Nigeria is owned by every single citizen of this country.
If you go to civilized nations, they possibly have, stratified their political parties such that those who play at the national level are there. And at the local level, you have other minor political parties playing there. And it gives sense of belonging to every citizen to be able to contest.
And in fact, once you have joined APC, all your sins are forgiven.
It's okay. It's okay. Off your mic. It's okay.
This is Third Eye Africa TV, exposing crime, savaging the nation.
Welcome back. Now, Barrister Tanimu, let's get something right. What happened that all these governors, you see, when it comes to campaigns, they were tearing themselves apart, But when it came to these local government funds, they all were one in the fight. And they made sure they defeated Buhari. Buhari just simply kept quiet. What happened?
Okay, what happened is simple. You see, the attention and the focus on the government of the president there was more about power. He wanted to retain power. In all honesty, what we all needed, we all know it as a fact. Every Nigerian knows the problem of Nigeria. Local government autonomy has been a challenging decimal from years back until this moment. Even though now we have judgment in their favor, I'm assuring you, local government, the moment they get, my friend happens to be a local government chairman, and I know how it works. The moment they get the allocation, the governor had already distributed the contracts that they are going to use their own money to pay for. And a lot of them are still claiming that most of the loans collected by the states, most of the states are highly indebted to regular commercial banks, huge, paying up to even 30%. So those loans that we are taking then, the argument is we collected those loans on behalf of the states.
And let me just inject this. You are from Kaduna State.
Yes.
I'm from Kaduna State,
Yes.
our state.
Yes.
Now, issue of Ahmed El-Rufai
Yes.
and Senator Ubasani,
Yes.
this issue of indebtedness
Yes.
has always been an issue there.
Yes.
So what do you really know about it? El-Rufai is saying all is wash matter. The
There are
governor
facts.
is saying, look,
What I'm telling you is that in 2016, in fact, when Buhari came in, more than 27 local states cannot meet up their financial obligation. In the sense that any money that comes to the state is barely enough to meet. When I say financial obligation, even paying salaries, the government had to now tell the central bank and the debt management office to create bonds that the federal government now took over all those loans that state government went to our regular commercial bank. Commercial bank, most of the commercial bank, they are into armchair banking. Monies are sent to the state government. The governors, some of them, they loot the funds, deposit it in commercial banks. Then they go back to that same commercial banks, give me loan to finance state activity at as high as 30% interest rate. And the banks will just sit down, armchair banking. They know that their monies are well secured. They have what you call irrevocable standing payment order. So the moment those federal government allocation is coming in, is being swept. That was the challenge they had as at 2016. When I said more than 27 state governments, Osun being the most prominent among them, Kaduna, all those states that you know, they are all in a way included on that list. So the federal government now took over those loans, turn it to like treasury bills and bonds so that they can free up funding. But they still went back and collected humongous loan. And the reason why they are fighting against local government autonomy is because they claim that those loans were collected on behalf of the states and it was used for the development of the states, providing paying.
Even when some will say their predecessors didn't do anything with the loans.
They didn't. Obviously, a lot of those loans were meant. Let me share a secret with you. The most lucrative commissioner, you say most of the commissioners here, some of them, they barely have a budget of 2 million, 4 million. But if you are the commissioner of a local government and chieftaincy affairs, that's the most lucrative commissioner. Because why? You are dealing with the funds of local government. Maybe you will say finance, but I'm telling you, commissioner of local government and chieftaincy affairs. The state governor had already designed a template whereby the expenditure and everything about the states are tied to the directive of the governor. They take the money. With the recent one that they did, that okay, on paper you see that allocation are being sent to the local government. The local government now will now take the same allocation back to the state governor. Where did you and his commissioner of local government? Some states still have a commissioner of local government until this moment. So you ask, what are they there for? They will take back that same that money that have been sent to their account. They will take it back because the process of electing them, they just appoint their cronies. They don't do election. All the local government elections, they are just a charade. Nobody is voting anybody. There's a list. The governor will have a list.
Oh.
And then you see, Buhari allowed that because, as I said, if you recall our foundation, we all believe that he's the only person that has the capacity, and Nigerians are ready to take that bullet, that pain. They say, okay, we will undergo. When it was increased, taking out subsidy, nobody protested. All the draconian measures he brought in, we all accommodated it, believing that the future will be brighter in a very short while. So equally, he had that opportunity for an electoral reform, for constitutional amendment, so that the local government will not be mentioned. You say, Jamaa local government, no, you will not mention them. You categorically spell them out that this local government is now a third tier of the government. Election for local government chairman will now be for 4 years. The local government chairman will not be removed by the governor, will only be removed by the state assembly, and you make it very, very clear. You create an electoral body. In fact, the election, if you recall, as at 99, most of our local, I know we are not talking about local government, I'm giving you the foundation. Most of our local government chairmen, they were kind of powerful. Some of them could even confront the governor. Only 1999. And afterwards, in Kaduna, for example, McAfee started removing one or two of them and prosecuting.
Started from Jamaa local
government. So we all know of all these facts. So it means that all the local government are still subservient under the state governor, not state government, state governor in person. Buhari had the opportunity of shooting that silver bullet by effecting constitutional amendment so that you can now have local government autonomy. You can now have electoral reform, whereby what he just needed to do, the templates are already there. The Waste Committee have already done their work. Give credence to late Shehu Musa Yar'Adua. It's just for him to now say we are implementing this committee.
Umaru Musa Yar'Adua.
Yes, he established the late Justice Lowell Waste Committee. They've done all the recommendations. So they've implemented some in part, and that is how Buhari was able to win election.
Yes, but Barrister Tanimu, when Tinubu came on board too, he felt the local government was still being shortchanged. Again, via the Minister of Justice, they ran to the Supreme Court.
The judgment is now in favor of the federal government.
Yes.
But it accounts,
so what has changed?
It accounts to nothing. Nothing has changed. The state governors will not allow the local government, because of the loan. Who is paying the loan? You see, you cannot just make law and the law will be difficult to be implemented. It's as good as making no law. For example, you make a law banning the smoking of cigarettes, and you know even those making that law and every other person else we will not be able to do without it. You are just wasting your time. What you need to do is to restrict the intake, maybe
and you
to
go
public,
to collect taxes from
and go to collect taxes from it. So it means you are not even sincere when you are making. So it's the same thing. The judgment accounts to nothing if you have not been able to. I wrote a petition for. I'm telling you now on behalf of some clients of a given state that have been they are highly indebted. We wrote a petition to the central bank that please stop this number of commercial banks from giving these dying states additional loan of about 87 billion, and they all ignored it, from the DMO's office, from down to the nobody. You see, we are not sincere with what we do, and its account is showing on what we. So if you're saying you want to take out the poor masses from poverty, how is it done? Is it through tokenism? You are giving somebody handouts, you are giving them 5,000, you are giving them cash transfer. All those projects, they are now being swept under the dustbin. Those are collected NASA loan, agricultural loan. Nobody is paying. All those money too, they've all gone down the drain, and you borrowed humongous amount. We don't need tokenism.
I thought that when these monies are just going like that, should the lawyers, the human rights activists like you, under public interest litigation,
yes,
I thought one would have gone into them to say, no, for the sake of the public, let's go into this.
You see, it's about public perception. For the person on the road, on the street, that is dying of hunger, and there's a way that the government have made so many outrageous announcements that palliative incentives are to be given.
Many adjectives.
Yes, many adjectives. So we naturally will not kick against such kind of measures. It's only when we are now seeing the effect, and the effect is quite appalling, because it has not removed anybody from poverty. In fact, it has taken more people into poverty, because most of those funds were looted, actually. If you want to give it in a transparent way, create a bank for those that are downtrodden, those that are in poverty, so that if you see my name there, that I collected 50,000, then you can term me as somebody that is poor. What happened? They are busy giving cash on the table, and they are saying that they cannot, when we are supposed to be having financial inclusivity, you are trying to get more Nigerians to be bankable. You can bank them from anywhere. You can create a microfinance bank so that you know that the process is transparent. Tokenism, they were giving cash in the market, giving cash, and till today, most of those monies, they've gone down the drain. Those programs have ended automatically. Nobody's even making any comment about it.
So, okay. Let's look at another issue, security. How did Tinubu fare? Sorry.
How did
Buhari? Tinubu, please wait.
Yet his time is coming. For security, I think what happened in the security sphere is even the most, I only term it as man inhumanity to man. You see, already there's division in the country, and I don't know if you are aware of it. There's division. A certain ethnic group have now been tagged as terrorists, as invaders, and you now have a president that is from that same. For me, it calls for a lot of responsibility. I will not, no matter what I do, I know that certain actions will be attributed to my tribe. That is even the more reason. For example, if I happen to be the president, my focus, if I want to be I'll be the Minister of Defense. I will not go for the Minister of Petroleum, because that is juicing. The challenging aspect is insecurity from Zamfara, from Sokoto. Things got so bad. It did not before now. From 2016 down, that's when we start hearing of high-profile kidnapping. When you say kidnapping, you are in your houses. People will come and kidnap you. For areas, if you're in Kaduna, for example, close to the city center, people are being kidnapped. Areas like Rigasa, area like after Kau, Afaka, and the rest. Human beings are being taken. A colleague of mine, a customary court, my junior colleague in the university, her and her family were taken, and their son was killed. Is it the one in Zamfara? Is it the one in Sokoto? Is it the one in Kebbi? Is it the one in Katsina, the president's home state? People are being kidnapped. Women are being raped in the mosques. Children are being killed. In Nigeria,
and it looks like Buhari's in-law was also kidnapped.
So many.
Governor Masari's mother-in-law too was allegedly kidnapped.
You see, the cry and the whole thing will not be that much if actually they are going after the politician. But I'm telling you of The masses, when you are in Kaduna, Abuja Road, when did it stop? Before now. I know I spent almost 2 to 3 years without even traveling by road past this same Abuja Kaduna Road, that some of us schools in Abuja as young children, we are coming down from Kaduna, even in late hours. We dare not do that then.
But maybe you, since you didn't travel by road, it also follows probably you use Buhari's railway in conjunction with Goodluck Jonathan. That railway line, because I think...
do you want to say as an achievement? Well, to the contrary, I see it as not an achievement, because even then, some you have to bribe your way. We know some of the shenanigans that were going on, even at as little thing as railway. They were busy holding the tickets. You must have experienced it too. You pay extra to get ticket because the roads. Some people prefer.
But don't you see that the failure of those doing the administration of the railway system? If some staff were busy collecting money through the window, it's a
collective failure. It's about system and processes. So as a leader, if you know that there is a challenge and you now they improve on the system, this is what we've always clamored for. It's not that they don't know about it. It's not that they couldn't have done it, but because some certain persons are benefiting from it. Anytime there's a loophole, anytime there's a lacuna, certain people are making money out of it. And who do you blame? You blame the people that implemented it.
And Buhari was so, benevolent. He took it to Maradi, Niger Republic.
It doesn't do, when you have challenges inside, and then we are yet to solve our internal problem. They are our neighbors, they are our brothers, we share the same heritage and the rest, but the existential problem we had then, the railway could have been a thing of choice, could have been a thing to ease businesses, but everybody were rushing to the railway because of the insecurity on the highway. Okay, I saw generals.
But what about the new bridge across River Niger?
You see, we celebrate that, but is that enough? You see.
But you start from somewhere.
After 8 years, when he came in, as I said, sir, we are not expecting magic. We are humans. We are all humans. We know the problem. We know the rot in the system, and we all agree that it was corruption. We thought you press the reset button, corruption will be eliminated. We thought you are coming in on the bankroll of insecurity. There's even a higher form of corruption. Military generals were arrested, moving cash, diverting cash. You go to Maiduguri, you want to move goods from the city center, you are escorting goods, commercial goods. You pay an average of, 500,000? They commercialize the whole war against insecurity. But
the general that was caught with some millions, for example,
yeah.
I thought some money, these people selling dollars, wanted to pass, and they thought there could be some security provided for them. The money wasn't that of the general.
No, that's what we were told. And I want to give you as a matter of fact. You see, anytime you allow for manual intervention, I'm telling you on national TV, you go to the defense house, you go to the security agencies, they deal more on cash. And I don't know for whatever reason, at this moment, when you are supposed to be doing transaction, how are they being paid? Even those fighting the war on the war front, they are dealing with cash. And you go and ask journalists who are throwing the challenge to you, they should be able to provide cover for you.
But
to go
how
undercover.
Yes, truly, yes. As per, they should be able to give cover.
Yeah, so that you can interface with some of those men on ground. They will tell you that they are not getting their ration.
Incidentally, when I was in active service before I could retire, I was an embedded correspondent. I could go to those areas. I could sleep in the bushes with soldiers. I ate their food. We were there with the mosquitoes, come rain, come shine, So we witnessed some of those things. But there are times, one has to be nationalistic at the point. Sure. These soldiers are Nigerians. They have blood. They have in-laws, parents, wives, children, But really...
Sorry to cut you. Me, I'm from my parents, and I have military background. I was actually born in the barracks, in 44 barracks in Kaduna. So I have military blood in me. And I lost cousins, I lost friends. And the stories they tell us then that they were prevented from, may the soul of late Abu Ali, rest in peace. I lost Lieutenant Colonel Ayu Umar, my cousin. So many of them.
Abu Ali was somebody I knew. Abu Ali was somebody I shook hands with. Abu Ali was one single night, he was made a lieutenant colonel from major because of the way
the gallantry
he fought
exhibited.
the war.
And
The
I will show you
soldiers-
that some of them, they are the verge of decimating the insurgents, the kidnappers, and they will receive orders from above, directing them to cease fire, not to proceed. So to tell you that the war against insecurity was commercialized. Some see it as a form of business. How do they get more allocation if those insurgency and the insecurity are not sustained? We are not looking at that angle. Why did it take so long?
Okay.
You bought Tucano jets at a exorbitant amount. Have they used the Tucano jet for anything? Is it beneficial? Is it useful?
Okay, let's move to Agric as we are almost ending this discussion. But sometimes, like the fuel, the insurgency used, and all that stuff, civilians buy the fuel. They stop to sell them in the bushes and all that. But maybe that for another day. But let us look at food security or food insecurity. When Buhari came for the first time, we saw some when we used to have groundnut pyramids. Here in Abuja, we saw for the first time rice pyramids.
Even though it was a sham.
Well,
Have you
you are a
seen it?
Buhari man.
Yes, I'm telling you, I actually went there practically to look at, and that was the last time it ever happened. And it will shock you that they use a wooden structure to now pile. So it was not a pyramid in the
So you mean under was hollow?
It was just hollow. Yes, I went there personally to see.
So
for
who
myself.
must have sold that cat to him?
You see, when we now reduce agriculture to tokenism, when we reduce agriculture to like giving favoritism to certain sector, we all know the problem, and we are not interested in mechanization, in creating funding, in creating sustain. You see, corruption will erode any kind of progress that you make. The giant strides were made, laudable projects were initiated, but because of the corruption in the systems, monies were diverted, monies are meant to, and because of structural defects, most of those who have collected loans, they are not paying. I have relatives, I know people that took those loans, they felt it was a giveaway from the government. Government is doing giveaway for election purposes. They all collected. Nobody is paying. Go to Bank of Agriculture. I know as a matter of fact, a lot of people took loan. Nobody is paying. That's why we cannot have the rice pyramid. So the fault now, you will not blame those that are not paying. You blame those that did not set up the structure, the system to ensure. Why can't you go to bank and collect loan and refuse paying and see if you have peace of mind? You will not. It is sustainable. It's a private business. They will not allow you to go free with their money. Government bringing this kind of initiative, then that is the more reason there should be more structures and system to ensure transparency and accountability in those processes. So we made some gain, and those gains were eroded by corruption. So you ask yourself, where are the gains? Where is the rice pyramid now?
And before his eyes, Nigeria could borrow an aeroplane, pen it to Nigerian colors, commission it as Nigerian Airways or Nigerian airline or something, and suddenly it disappeared into thin air.
It never existed in the first place. It's just a big sham, and it's unfortunate. We don't know why it's taking long for the matter to. I'm a lawyer. I know the hassle and the judiciary that case have been adjourned. So we still blame the authorities that are meant to fight that. But that was a big slap on the government. We are talking about the Air Nigeria. It was just a sham. Billions went into it. At the end, they borrowed a plane for a crowd from Ethiopia Airline, and they've since taken it back. To shock you too, there's INERA. Have you forgotten about it? Exactly. Some of us even channeled some money into it, and it's equally a sham. And the level of disrespect, I see it as level of disrespect for those people that are saying we should not talk bad about the dead. How can you invite the president? And it's now becoming a norm. Our presidents now are being invited to commission fictitious projects or projects that don't exist or projects that are just for show. You don't need to commission a project if it has not been concluded. INERA, we all know what happened to INERA. INERA never saw the light of the day. And people that did it are still in the central bank. Some of them are still there in the central bank. So so you look at it, there's even disrespect to the exalted position of the presidency. of the president. For people that have invited the president to commission such kind of project, I think it's the right time for the Attorney General to actually prosecute such kind of people for bringing the office of the president to disrepute. Those things never existed. Yeah, and we have so many shambolic projects of such, and because they've done it once, they get away with it. It means they could still do some more, and we are seeing a semblance of it even under this current regime. The claim of certain kilometers in the Lagos Calabar, maybe we should do a documentary on it to see if actually we have that length of road being constructed.
Well, there's this idiomatic expression. If you are talking about Tinubu now, the white man will say a journey of 1,000 miles will start with a kilometer. So they've started with a kilometer. Let's put it.
We have seen 88 wasted years of failed and broken promises.
Then finally, before the eyes of Buhari, still talking security, insecurity, you see, he was supposed to have recruited 10,000 policemen per year. Rather than doing that, we saw that the chairman of Police Service Commission and the Inspector General of Police were always in court, your jurisdiction, that entertained that for this long, and Buhari felt, okay, let the law take its course. Was it a humble
It is a big
stand?
shame. It's a big shame, a low down dirty shame. There are things that should not even come to public domain. When you have issues like this, it should be maybe a state government having to challenge the federal government. But you now have institution under a single entity, the executive arm, under your direct control. What is expected is for, if you don't want to even use the office of the Attorney General for a legal advice, you could sum up a team of senior advocates. You could sum up your legal advisor. Tell me the position on this matter. Then you give a clear note directive. Hey, Commissioner of Police Service Commission, hands off. Inspector General of Police, hands off. This is not your jurisdiction. This is an administrative matter. But you see, when you have, would I say, lackadaisical attitude, what point do you want to prove when you know that you are already making the system to go down the drain further? When a single pronouncement, a single authoritative pronouncement based on informed decision, you have all the resources to get all the senior advocates, to get lawyers, to get legal advisors, they give you a sound opinion, and you take a position. When you refuse to take position, your body language is sending a different signal that your orders, the fear they have for you, should be discontinuous, and that is how he ruled the country for 8 years.
Yes, you said he should have taken a position, and for us on Third Eye Africa TV, we have to take a position, and that position is to end this program right now. And our guest has been Ahmed Abubakar Tanimu, a barrister, a human rights activist who feels he should discuss former President Muhammadu Buhari. We want to thank you for coming to Third Eye Africa TV.
Thank you for having me. It's a delight to be on your program.
And we've been on Democracy in Action. Like I said, the platform is Third Eye Africa TV. Bye for now.